Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Hey kids, welcome back. Sean Patrick here, and I'm as Mad Jack McMad, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, Andrew Scheer and several other politicians are very hung up on the fact that Prime Minister Trudeau wasn't aware of how much money his mom makes. I never knew how much money my mom made, and I'm willing to bet that most people don't know their parents' income. For example, I bet Mr. Scheer has no idea the income his mom makes from his golfing buddies. So my virtual hugs and kisses go to Mama Scheer. And thanks from the fellas. So for this week, I still didn't have anything actually planned as of last night. Now, I had a few more good bits, but I didn't really have an underlying topic. Well, that is until I went on my front porch this morning to see if Amazon had delivered my Lizgogs. Oh, Lizgogs are goggles that you wear so that you can see who are lizard people. Yeah, well, I figured you would want to see the lizard people too, so I imagined ordering you a pair as well. You're welcome. So, in my mailbox, I found this. It's a notice of exemptions from mask and face coverings. These things are fucking pathetic. I'd say they were criminal if it wasn't for the fact that they're so easily debunked by anyone with the slightest bit of critical thinking ability. I can't even feel sorry for anyone who falls for it. Now, before we get into this piece of trash, I need to tell you that I looked up the website that's listed on here. It's run by a whackdoodle that lives here, in my town. And the website has a "Don't Sue Me" disclaimer, which reads, and I've changed the names to protect the guilty idiots, information provided on this whackdoodle site is not to be considered medical or legal advice. If you decide to use, follow, or abide by any of the ideas, suggestions, and information provided on this whackdoodle site, you do at your own risk and will not hold creator whackdoodle or anyone associated with this whackdoodle site accountable in any way. So even you know that what you're saying is reckless and dangerous to the point of needing to cover your legal behind. I don't have a disclaimer because I actually stand behind what I say. And if I say something incorrect, it's an accident, not purposeful misinformation, and I will happily correct any such mistake. So these things are everywhere. Originally, it's just an anti-vaxxers form letter, but it's been revised to suit anti-vaxxers and particular regions' regulations. So let's get into this, skipping the regional regulation stuff at the beginning here. The bearer of this notice is claiming a human rights exemption from wearing masks or face coverings for physical health, mental health, and religious ethical reasons as outlined below. Physical health exemptions. The long-term safety or effectiveness of mask wearing has never been scientifically evaluated. First of all, yes it fucking has! Empirically and obviously in hospitals for years. I can't find any case of proper mask use causing death. No headlines of medical staff die of prolonged mask wearing. And that's the only number that matters, right? The death toll. Secondly, you aren't supposed to be wearing it long term, just when physical distancing isn't possible. That's just the first sentence of Clause 1 here. Sentence 2. The New England Journal admits that masks, quote, offers little, if any, protection from infection. Well, I found the article this refers to, and I'll put a link to it in the description. It is important to note, as always with the Icke, that we are still at this point attempting to understand what it is and how to deal with it. So information changes, gets updated over time. It's called learning. This article was published April 1st. Now, while I admit there is a bit that is a little confusing, and they do use that particular phrase, it was taken out of context. If you read the whole friggin' article, it becomes very clear that not only was it written in a debate style and largely about clinical mask use as opposed to public, it is also clearly promoting universal mask use. Just to make sure I understood, I checked the citing articles and found all mask-related references used were also in support of this. So, this stink is saying people shouldn't wear a mask based on many articles that say they should. So the writers of that article then published a clarification on June 3rd stating, quote, "We understand that some people are citing our prospective article as support for discrediting widespread masking. In truth, the intent of our article was to push for more masking, not less." The final line of Clause 1. Ontario Public Health also only claims that masks may help limit the spread of disease. So may is... well, condoms may help reduce the risk of STIs, but they can't guarantee it. Also, you might die in a plane crash or get struck by lightning, but that would be a result of your personal decision to get on that plane or to go walking in a thunderstorm whilst wearing your tinfoil hat. That's your right. You do not have the right to put other people's health at risk. May is better than won't, and, well, hang on. The next bit says, wearing a mask may weaken the immune system of the wearer. Masks limit one's exposure to beneficial flora, natural plant-derived chemicals, and general immune-boosting microbes in the environment. So, may isn't a good enough reason to wear a mask, but you're only claiming it may weaken the immune system. So that isn't good enough either. And if masks limit exposure to those amazingly beneficial, but also microscopically tiny things, would it not limit exposure of other things? Also, just do a search for that fucking blather and see how many different reputable sources have debunked that claim already. Study after study after study, yet, just like the anti-vaxxers, some idiots said it once without any evidence, and they all ran with it. Masks limit and slow the spread of viruses in the environment. What? But you just said right here how they don't. How does that work? Oh, I know. It fucking doesn't. Once again, just using small pieces of information when we feel like it. Moving along, just to finish that sentence, thereby delaying herd immunity and potentially putting the sick and elderly at risk for an extended period of time. Okay, yeah. Well, herd immunity is a concept whereby if enough of the population has the antibodies which fight a particular illness, it will break the chains of transmission. The more contagious the illness, the larger the percentage of population that needs to have the antibodies. This concept has worked well with other illnesses in the past, but that doesn't mean it will here. Okay, there are two ways to create herd immunity. One is through vaccines, which as yet don't exist for the Icke, and anyone who takes this paper seriously isn't likely to get vaccinated anyway. The other is through catching the virus so that your body naturally produces these antibodies. Now, as I've said, we are still learning about this virus, but here's a few things to consider. A Spanish study published in The Lancet on July 6 shows that only about 5% of those recovered from COVID-19 still had antibodies present. This wasn't done of 50 people on the phone. This is thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It's a real study, not a poll. Several studies worldwide suggest that these antibodies do not last long. Most say less than 3 months. Now, as the Icke is rather contagious and still as yet not fully understood, it is estimated that at least 60% of the population would have to contract the virus in a very short period of time so as that they all have the antibodies at the same time to break the chains. So let's do some math. World population is 7.8 billion. 60% of that is 4.68 billion, with a generally agreed upon approximate death rate of 1%. That's 46,800,000 corpses. If you think those are acceptable losses, fuck you. But wait, we didn't account for that Spanish study. If it's correct, that means that even if everyone on the planet caught the Icke simultaneously, only 5% of the population would have those antibodies. Far less than the 60%, thus making it, at this point, according to available information, impossible to achieve this way. But hey, yeah, I'm not a doctor, so you know what? If you take this bullshit seriously, please go start licking doorknobs of hospitals and long-term care homes. Go partying in Brampton and New Jersey. Find a homeless person with the sniffles and blow them. It may not give you herd immunity, but you'd probably put a much-needed smile on a likely unmasked face. Many masks and face coverings are made with toxic chemicals that will outgas and be inhaled by the wearer. If it smells nasty, don't put it on your face. If you do anyway, and you get a rash, take it the fuck off and don't use masks from that package or get more from the same manufacturer. Or just make your own and don't cover it in methanol. I love how they're claiming to be a voice of reason, whilst being completely devoid of any. Look, it took me 13 minutes. 13 minutes to get through approximately a quarter of this assault on humanity. But this so clearly has no basis in reality that I can't justify it with any more of my time. Even though I won't call out this whack doodle by name, I will say this. Stepping on my property to stuff seriously harmful disinformation into my mailbox is called trespassing. So I may stuff my mailbox full of fluoride gay frogs and vapor trails. I may let my imaginary assistant Sandy kick your fucking ass. Okay, yeah, that did sound a little rightsy and frigid-y. How do you want me to say it? Okay, I might just not try to stop my imaginary assistant Sandy from kicking your ass. Your head and ass. Or I may just call the police. But no matter what happens, no matter what changes, only two things are certain right now. Stay the fuck away from each other and wash everything. A lot. No, I'm pretty sure they won't figure out who I'm talking about because you recommended against me wearing my Fuck John in his maskless face t-shirt. Yes, that one is way cooler than the Flat Earth Matters shirt he wears.